Believe it or not, October 7th, 2023 was not the first time that young Jews were taken hostage and forced to live in squalid conditions. One such instance was in 1497, when King Manuel of Portugal kidnapped 2,000 Jewish children, only ages 2 to 15. He sent them to colonize and work Sao Tome Island, which is off the west coast of Africa. At the time, the island was inhospitable. It was infested with malarial swamps, large, hungry crocodiles, and there was an active volcano emitting noxious gases. No one from Portugal would voluntarily move to the island to work its sugar fields. So the Jewish children had to do it. Within 1 year, only 600 of the 2,000 children remained alive. Yet, as survivors, they were a hardy bunch, and they grew up and had children. It seems that before they were kidnapped, the children that were able to learn from their parents were taught that they were Jewish and taught to never forget their Jewish heritage. The kids apparently listened, and they taught the next generations, their children and grandchildren, that they are Jewish. Think about it. They didn't do this with any rabbis, no synagogues, no Hebrew schools. We have accounts from visitors coming to Sao Tome in the 16 and even 1700s, 200 years later, saying, you know what? There are Jews living on this island off of Africa. No rabbis, no synagogues. Even for historian buffs like me, I didn't know about this story until after October 7th, when it became an inspiration. Why? Because here's another account of our ancestors suffering and never giving up. If these children could persevere and pass on their Jewish heritage with what little they had, can't we do so with the IDF, the State of Israel, and here in the United States with the First Amendment of the Constitution? It does feel like we've hit a low point for Jews in 2025. It's lonely. It's scary to be a Jew in 2025. Before October 7th, many of us, myself included, were deluded to thinking that Jewish suffering and persecution was waning. No more Holocaust. We had the State of Israel. There was this idea of acceptance for all. We were going to make it. But October 7th and its aftermath shattered any notions that we were immune. And even here in Great Neck, many of you have said to me that you feel threatened. More than one of you came to my office to say, Rabbi, I took off my Jewish star necklace. If I didn't have my kittel, I could show you my chai. And they would say, I'm afraid to be openly Jewish. I don't want to say to the world, I'm Jewish. I just want to blend in. Others said, Rabbi, I don't feel comfortable in my workplace. At the water cooler, whenever they can, people are disparaging Israel. And I'm afraid to speak up in its defense. Shouldn't the workplace be a place that we don't have these conversations? We could just be civil with one another? And of course, our college students, and I need to add now our professors, have to navigate tensions on campus. I add the professors because a good friend of mine, his wife is a professor at Ohio State. And he called me before Rosh Hashanah to wish Shana Tova and told me that the conditions for professors on campus is you have to watch every single word you say, because you could be reported on both the right and the left. Everyone's walking on eggshells. So I hear your feelings. I see you. I know what's going on. And yet I feel compelled to say, do not despair. Do not give up. Stand up tall and proud as a Jew and really try to make ourselves Am Yisrael Echad, the nation of Israel being one. And I'm even asking you to perhaps take the risk to be out there as a Jew. I'm not going to tell you and dictate you put your necklace back on if you're uncomfortable. But I'll share with you that I try my best to keep my kippah on in public, even outside of New York. I know that anti-Semites are scary, but we need to really know that their numbers, thankfully here in America, are minuscule compared to the population. The majority want to respect us as Jews. And so even if you're outside of New York, if someone asks you, someone asks me, what do you do? I lean into saying, I'm a rabbi. And more people than you think, because they have a Christian upbringing, think, oh, I have to give some respect to my pastor or my priest. They start to give me respect, even though I'm just asking to be an acquaintance or even a friend. But yes, we need to be wary of our surroundings. We are very fortunate to have the law enforcement on our side. And we have to learn to transform that fear into pride. And the 21st century also means we have to live differently as Jews than in the past. Our 20th century vision of America was the melting pot. We tried to assimilate as much as we could, to blend in, to not attract attention. And we actually succeeded. We were allowed into universities, into neighborhoods that were once told no Jews allowed, even to the country clubs. Jews rose to high levels in the government, the corporate suites. Next to Israel, really America was the Golden Medina, the promised land for Jews. And then anti-Semitism reared its ugly head again. And you know what? We should have remembered this from the Holocaust, that even if you say you're not Jewish or try to assimilate, they can figure out quickly that you are a Jew, unless you really totally convert out. Because our culture and our tradition are too rich to be forgotten. We hold on to our Jewish souls, and they try to get us. So how do we respond in the 21st century? I think we pivot and lean into the salad bar notion of the 21st century of living here in America, where we have a vision that each culture maintains its identity, ideally free from persecution. I'll get to that in a second. And we live together in the main street and at the water cooler. We're not fully there yet. I know that. Anti-Semitism and prejudice of all types still exists here. Nevertheless, I ask us to work towards that dream. Stake our claim in the American salad and demand the freedom to live as Jews. And we need to say that anti-Semitism is hatred, just like racism is. If America is going to be serious about its vision to rid itself of all prejudice, then they need to respect Jewish rights. We need to put Jewish rights on the list. And we can and should make those demands. Yes, we are afraid. We're living with new hatreds that many of us did not grow up with. But we cannot despair. We cannot give up. Just like our ancestors did, we need to stubbornly hold on to our tradition. I believe that our ancestors dug their heels in because they didn't want to give their enemies the victory. And by the way, Judaism is worth preserving because we have a sacred mission from God. God declares when talking to Abraham, "For I have singled you out, Abraham, that you may instruct your children on posterity to keep the way of the Lord, doing what is just and right." It is our covenant with God, with the past, the present, and the future, to be a people that pursues justice and goodness. We have a holy assignment, and we cannot give it up, even in the face of some adversity. And as we read the Akedah today, new insight came to me that really, as the children of Abraham, we are also being put to the test. In every generation, they were put to the test. Is our faith, our tradition, our covenant, our mission important enough to preserve, even at the risk of some persecution? And dare I say, the risk of our lives and the lives of our children? The answer has always been yes. From Maccabee times to the children of Salmi to the IDF today. We remain steadfast Jews no matter what. We did it in the Roman times, in the Middle Ages. The survivors and the refugees of the Shoah and all of the other persecutions of the 20th century did it, and we are going to do it in the 21st. We cannot let our opponents have their victory of getting rid of the Jews. So I can encourage us to be openly and proudly Jewish as you feel comfortable. Nothing we do in this life is risk-free, and nothing that we do as Jews is risk-free. We're not going to get rid of anti-Semitism until the Messiah. Well, let's take inspiration from the famous author John Steinbeck, who said that good and evil are cyclical. From evil, goodness and heroism is going to rise up. And yes, it'll be cut down, but good will then rise up again. But here's his inspirational words. It isn't that the evil thing wins. It never will. It doesn't die, but it will never win. We cannot despair. We cannot give up. Am Yisrael Chai, the people of Israel and its mission of pursuing goodness lives on. Amen.